introduce Joe. Joe is Dexter's brother. He went with us last year, and he still talks to us.
I met Dex about 2 weeks before him. But I guess, Ram, for me, if I could pick out two beacons of light, special memories that will always remain luminous in my mind, those two would be, one is a very, very bad one. In a matter of just a few seconds, going through horrible fear, going through horror, going through absolute rage, seeing a full-size Blazer, full throttle headed at your brother when he's helpless and you're helpless to do anything about it. That was a tough moment. We switched out crews shortly after that, and I had to go take a long walk and kind of walk that one off. That was a tough one. So that was my low point of Ram. As for my point, kind of getting back to your question, the finish line was high, but there was another moment in Ram for me that was, I think, more special. Dex and I kind of talked about the finish line after the race was over. Imagine this, we're coming into Baltimore, Maryland on Monday morning. And Annapolis is kind of a suburb of Baltimore. Everybody's going to work. And from about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning until we cross that finish line, we are dodging and fighting the traffic like you cannot believe. Me and Michael's driving and I'm navigating, and we're both looking left and right saying, Dex, merging on your right, Dex, people exiting over here. And he's having to look, and I mean, it was intense for many, many hours getting to that finish line. And by the time we got to the finish line, I mean, that last half mile there was a lot of exhilaration and so forth, but before that, getting to the finish line was like, wow, actually this is over. Because it was insane, it really was. But for me, I guess my best memory of Ram happened about, I don't know the exact time, maybe 10 hours before we got to the finish line. The scenario is, there was 4 of us in the follow vehicle, and we were going to be the crew that followed Dexter into the finish line for about the last 30 hours, 24 to 30 hours we were following him in. And we were charting. We had a chart where we measured every hour. At the end of each hour, we would chart how many miles he accomplished during that hour. We would subtract that from the miles left that he had to go, and then we would calculate what kind of average miles per hour he needs to maintain in order to get there before the cutoff time. So we're charting this every hour. You know, okay, now he has to do these miles an hour in order to finish, and these miles an hour. And Sunday night, we finished Monday morning. Sunday night, as it's getting closer to midnight, Dex's average miles per hour are dropping. They're coming down, and that's not a good thing. And we're getting in the danger zone. We really are. We're looking at it going, wow, if this continues, we're in serious trouble. We may not finish Ram. And at that point, I mean, you kind of have to take inventory of the situation. I mean, the man's ridden 2,900 miles. Everything in his crotch area is raw. His hands no longer function. He cannot change his gears. His feet are basically numb. His knees are hurting. I mean, his whole body is screaming in pain basically at this point. And his biggest nemesis, his biggest physical problem at this point in the race is sleep deprivation. If any of you ever been driving down the road after a big meal and or sitting in a meeting after a big meal and you sit there and you're nodding and you cannot keep your eyes open, magnify that by 12 days of no sleep. Magnify that by 2,500 miles on a bicycle. It's hard to imagine. And that's what he was fighting at this point. That's why his speed was coming down, down, down between the fatigue and the sleep deprivation. It didn't look good. And I'm a navigator at this point. I've got the headset on, I've got the mic, and I'm talking to him. And I'm analyzing the situation and going, wow. I was there last year when we pulled out at 2,810 miles. And I remember the pain of that. I remember the pain of going to the finish line, driving to the finish line, walking up to the finish line and seeing that banner and not seeing him cross it. That was very painful. And I remember the night before we left the race this year, the night before we started, we had a team meeting in the hotel room. And Dex poured out his heart to us about how painful that was last year, about how that could not happen again. And so all of this is right there, and it's not looking good. And if that, normally I'm a pretty mellow guy, pretty quiet, reserved, don't say a lot of things and don't speak very much. But I started getting kind of real direct and firm with Dex. And I started pushing him. And I started trying to get him to go faster. Dex, you gotta wake up. And really started talking to him real hard. And there was something I said, I don't remember, maybe 10 hours left in the race. When I said, Dex, I said, when you get back to Del Rio and you're standing in front of the Lions Club and you're standing in front of the Rotary Club at Del Rio, Texas, how's your speech going to end, Dex? Are you going to tell them you did not finish REM? I said, you're writing that speech right now. You're writing the final chapter of that speech. How's that speech going to end? What's it going to say, Dex? I told him, I said, I want you to show me with your pedals, with your body, how that speech is going to end right now. And what I saw, I still get chill bumps because the man took off. It was, whoa. He took off. And we were like, oh my gosh. And I just kept pushing him and driving him, pushing him and driving him. And he kept riding and riding that. Those miles per hour started going up, 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 up. And what that meant to me now, I look at my life and I say, wow, Joe, you have an opportunity to write the final chapter of your life. What's your life going to say, Joe? And all of us need to be thinking about that. I have the opportunity every day to put another page in the book. And I have the opportunity and the ability to do what he did, to rise up and make that story more interesting, more meaningful, more inspiring, more exciting. He wrote his story, and what I saw him do that night inspired me to think about my story and my book, my speech, and what I need to say about my life. Thank you.